Hello everybody and welcome back to another Light Custom Minifigure Showcase, this time featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry series. Some people already get that, but anyway, Dante. Started working on a lot of Devil May Cry figures for some reason. I don't know. I just started making a bunch of Dantes, well, a bunch of them. I've done three Dantes, DMC1, DMC2, DMC5, and I also did DMC4 Nero and DMC5 Nero. Those will eventually come out at some point in the future, but today we're talking about Devil May Cry 1 Dante. And overall, pretty happy with it. A few gripes with it would be his sleeves, pretty much. His roll-up sleeves. Well, let's just say the arms in general. And the hair. Those are the only tiny gripes I have with it. Could have done a little bit cleaner paint job on the arms. With the gray lines mostly. But sculpt, could have used a different base. That's pretty much the biggest issue with it. I should have used a different base. But overall, it's pretty good. Pretty good. I wouldn't say great. It's pretty good. Try to squeeze in as much as I could, but still keep it relatively simple. I do like the paint job I did on the coat though. All the lines and yeah, it's just turned out very clean, I think. A few gripes obviously would be the paint job smearing a little bit when you, I guess when I'm varnishing it. I'm not 100% on that, but the gray lines aren't, perfect, unfortunately. So if you really pay attention to it, just zoom in and just stare at those gray lines, you'll see they are like a little bit, guess, transparent. A little bit. If you just go really close and shine a bright light on it and like, inspect it to the fullest, then obviously you would see some imperfections. But viewing it from a reasonable distance, there's no issue at all, I would say. It's mostly just closer inspections, and that's just an issue I have overall with my figures. It's not just this particular one. I just noticed that when I'm editing stuff and when you zoom in, whoa. And it's only when I zoom in with the cameras. When you look at it in real life, it just doesn't really show up. It's just that you gotta go in with that insane zoom in with the details, and that's when you start noticing all these imperfections. So it's just a little bit of info, I guess, but moving on. The guns, ebony and ivory, his signature guns. It wasn't made for this figure. I only made one pair of ebony and ivory, and I made them for his DMC5 iteration. But I've decided to just put him on here because why the hell not? Just showcase him because, he needs his guns. He needs to have his guns. So yeah, I just decided to put that in. And painting him, well, sculpting him for one thing was pretty interesting because I haven't really sculpted handgun. I've sculpted a revolver, the blue rose, twice already, so this was something new, I guess, and worked out fine. I mean, can't really complain. They turned out pretty good. I would like to talk more about them in another video, because right now I just want to focus on this figure, and we have two more Dante figures to go through, so I can go into a little bit more detail in the other videos. But yeah, I decided to display him without his coat as well, showing that that's a possibility. Didn't really think about it that much, but I decided to do it anyway. And I mean, it looks decent enough. Could just varnish the arms or something, I guess, to mat them down a little bit, but other than that, looks pretty good. Really looks cool. And yes, I do know that Dante is supposed to have the collar on his vest and not, it's not a part of the coat. But I just think that it just looks kind of stupid or silly, just having this huge collar without the trench coat. So that's why I decided to display him without the collar. People might just not think about it, but you know, there might be some who's like, oh, he's supposed to have the collar on, but just don't think that it looks that good with it. You know, he needs a trench coat. Just my preference, I guess. So there's that. And the sword, by the way, is the Force Edge. The first sword he starts out with. I don't remember if it's that useful in the game, and he's more associated with the other sword, Alastor, from DMC1. I'm not too sure, but I like Force Edge better, so that's why I made Force Edge for this particular figure. And yeah, I mean, looks pretty good. I like how the sword turned out. That's actually the first thing I started sculpting. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna make these figures because I just made the sword, because I started sculpting this for some reason. And I was like, let's just do it. Let's just make a bunch of Dante figures and Nero figures, and then eventually, you know, I'll do Virgil, probably do another V. I would like to do Lady, maybe Trish as well, but that's thinking way ahead right now. So far, you know, I have the 5 figures: DMC1 Dante, DMC2, DMC5, and Nero, DMC4 and DMC5. So 5 figures with accessories, swords and guns. And the sculpt is kind of a funny story, because when I had sculpted it and painted it and varnished it, it didn't have any texture to it because I was sculpting mostly from a picture from the game. So, you know, PlayStation 2 graphics, the hair was all smooth and all. So yeah, I just didn't think about it that much. So what I did was I actually went in and just, after everything was painted and varnished, I just went in and started sanding down the front piece just to get some texture in there, you know, just sanding it down with a Dremel. Turned out way better, obviously, but just a little bit of annoyance to do, to repaint it and then revarnish it, but it's for the best, I guess. As I said, the base that I sculpted it on wasn't the best. I just wanted to use whatever I had on hand. Didn't want to fully sculpt. Well, I hadn't fully sculpted hairpiece back then when I actually made this figure, which was in the summer of 2021. So yeah, it's been quite a while actually. This figure has been done, and the face is fully painted as well. You know, nothing official about it. Just completely painted everything myself, which is probably why it doesn't look that clean, obviously. But that's just what you gotta take when you make stuff. And I do like the small imperfections, just to give that personal touch that you made it yourself. And I am using a paintbrush, by the way. I don't use tacks or anything like that. I just paintbrushes all the way. No toothpicks, nothing like that, no needles. Just paintbrushes. That's it, that's all I'm using. And multiple layers. Multiple, and I do mean this, multiple layers of thin paint. And then let things dry. So when you make a mistake, when you actually add small little details, you know, like the gray lines and the black lines and all that stuff, it gets tedious with a figure no matter what, unless it's really simple. But yeah, sometimes you want to challenge yourself, and I think I kind of did, because I've done Devil May Cry figures before. I've done Dante like, what is it, 3-4 times before, but I've never done his DMC1 iteration, so that was kind of fun. It was actually fun just making the different Dantes, and I might come back to make DMC3, which was the first Dantes I ever made, and then DMC4, which is pretty much the most complex, I think. So that will be interesting to make eventually, but I don't know when. As I said before, way down the line, I guess. But anyway, overall, very happy with this figure. Can't wait to actually shoot the rest of the figures, because I got so many. It's not just Devil May Cry figures, it's just everything else I've been making throughout the year. And last year, pretty much too, I just never had the motivation to shoot the videos and shoot voiceover, but now I'm getting back into it, so it feels great. It feels really great. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, and I thank you all for sticking through to the very end. Hope you enjoyed this showcase, and I will see you guys next time.